Testing. We'll be starting in just a couple of minutes. I just wanted to make sure that the broadcast was a go. All right, it's 9 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock, so I think it's time to get this show started. And welcome everybody to Molehill Mountain, episode 25, the all sold out edition. This is Zachary Knight. Andrew is not available. He's on call today, and he couldn't find anybody to cover him during the podcast. So all you got is me. So I hope that I can keep things interesting for at least an hour. I managed to do that for an entire month, but it's like every time I do one of these, I feel like I'm not prepared. I don't have a good show in store, but you guys always make it interesting. I've got some great they always had great people commenting and helping out, and boy, today was I sweating. I went to my in-laws brother-in-law's house for the day. He lives about 2 hour drive away from here, and this morning was spent getting the kids ready, and so I didn't have time to pre-set up everything like I was hoping I could do earlier today. So I got home at 8 o'clock and was just kind of rushing around trying to get kids into bed and then get in here and start up this broadcast. And Google had changed everything up for me. It used to be you just go to Google Hangouts and start a Hangout, and it loads up on your YouTube channel. and you're good to go. No, they changed it. They're integrating the Hangouts functionality into YouTube, and deprecating Hangouts. Going to shut it down soon, I guess. And so I had to look up how to set up a live stream and for this broadcast, and it took me forever to figure out. I kept clicking on the wrong things, and set up like two other broadcasts that weren't going to work at all for me. One of them was using some beta functionality that YouTube has, the stream now, and then the other one, I set up a custom broadcast, and it wanted me to install some third-party tools to live stream things. Yeah, we're going to talk about that 13U cube. But and then finally I got it set up right, and now I'm here, and we're going to have a show. Andrew might be on chat between calls, but he's not going to be on the show itself, unfortunately. But he might be on chat, might have some questions, or just some great comments. So this week, I've been working. I set a goal for myself for my game. I'm making. If you follow my game development Twitter at DK_gaming, DivineKnightGaming.com, I've been working on a game called that I'm calling Abstract RPG. Eventually, I'm going to think of a better title, but for now, that's what I'm calling it. And I've been working on this. It's going to be a mobile title. And for the longest time, it's just taken me forever to do anything. And so I decided to set a goal for myself in the month of November. There's a bunch of things happening. There's No Shave November, which I'm not taking part in because I never, well, I do shave here and then a little bit on my cheeks, but I think that disqualifies me from No Shave November. But there's that. There's National Novel Writing Month. And so NaNoWriMo, which I've always wanted to take part in, but this year I didn't want to do that. So, and then there was a GitHub was putting on a game jam for the month of November, and I was like, oh, I'll do that. But then I was like, well, I've already started working on this other game, so let's just make a goal to finish the game in the month of November. And as part of that goal, publish a screenshot or some other related image for the game every single day in November. And so far, I've only missed one day. And surprisingly, it was the day after the election and not the day of the election. So, and I haven't got one uploaded today yet. So I still got 3 hours to do this, but so 2 hours after the podcast is over. But this has really made me have to focus on the game, and some days I do very little still, but other days I get a lot done, and I'm way further along in the game than I have been. And next week I'm making a goal to really get the game playable, where you're actually where there's actually some win-lose type stuff going on, and hopefully by the end of the month it will be in a state where it'll just take a couple extra weeks to get it fully playable, like not fully playable, but fully fleshed out and ready to publish onto the Google Play Store. And I don't have a Mac or an iPhone to test on, so I probably won't go onto the iTunes store for a while, but maybe if I make enough money off of it on the Google Play Store, I'll be able to afford everything I need to develop it or to release it on the iTunes store. But that's what I've mostly been doing this week. Other game-wise, I downloaded a couple of games, and these are mobile games. One of them is Burrito Bison Lancha Libre. This is developed by a company called Juicy Beast. They make a game that I really enjoy. It's called Nightmare Tower, and you in this game you launch a rocket with a knight on it, and and you fly up a tower, and you attack monsters to keep your momentum going up, and you have to. All right, hold on a minute. Sorry about that. I had a my youngest daughter was on the at my door. But so these guys make this game Nightmare Tower, and I had a lot of fun playing it. I bought it on Ouya and played it there. I played the web version of it, and I really want to get the mobile version, but it's a great game. And so one of their earlier games is called Burrito Bison, and I'm like, oh, I haven't played this one. Let's give it a try and check it out. And it's a lot of fun. It's kind of a cross between Angry Birds and an endless runner, if that makes any sense. But so it starts out, you have your luchador, your Mexican wrestler, and up against the ropes of the ring, the fighting ring, and you pull them back like you do with the slingshot and Angry Birds, and you launch them across the screen, and they fly off, and then they start bouncing off of these evil uh, uh, evil gummy bears that are running down the street terrorizing this Mexican town. And you just bounce along, and you do little rocket punches, and there's other boosts and stuff to get you along the way. And I've been having a lot of fun with it, and I've just been playing it for 2 days, and it's just a great game. The game's free. It's ad supported. I haven't checked to see if there was any in-app purchases or anything, but great. It's a lot of mindless fun. And the other game I started playing, I was just looking. I think it was actually in the suggestions as I was downloading something else. Um, that's what it was. I downloaded Terraria on my phone, and then found out it was just a free demo, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna pay to unlock the rest of the game. But in the suggestions was this game called Min Dungeon, Min Dungeon, and I'm like, oh, that looks kind of neat. It's a little retro style game, and all it is it's a there's the play screen is about 3 tiles high, and then it goes across the length of the width of the phone, and you just move left and right and go through doors, and that's the only up and down movement, is to go through doors. Otherwise you're just moving left and right, and you attack monsters, you build up your strength, you find weapons and armor, and you beat a series of dungeons. And it's I want to say it's like a roguelike, but it's a roguelike like, I guess. It's not really a roguelike, because you keep it, if you die, you keep the equipment and items that you found up until that point. You keep the health and magic you earned as you leveled up, and so it's not like a roguelite where you die and then you have to start over from scratch. Uh, but I really like it. I don't have any complaints about it, other than I haven't had enough time to play it because it's fun. Yeah, likes they eat shields. Yeah, they're really annoying. I haven't run into anything that eat shields, but there are no shields in the game. It's just weapon slot and armor slot, and that's all it is. There's no other shield helmets or anything like that. So it's very, very simplified. But it is a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it, and I think I'm going to play this for a while, for a long while. And there, I believe there are some in-app purchases, but I haven't looked them up. But I know every once in a while there's a prompt to refill your health, and then you just watch a video ad. Unfortunately, the ads that have come up have been interactive ads, and you can't close them until you've interacted with them enough. And oh, those are so annoying. Uh, and it's like the one that I got, you have to interact with it a certain number of times, and then the close X shows up. But the close X is like just three shades lighter than the black bar that it's in, and so it's very hard to see when it actually pops up, and that drives me insane. And terrible, terrible ad method, and I don't recommend doing that if you're trying to advertise your game. And man, I just notice how bright my screens are on my glasses, and so you can't see my eyes, you see my screens instead of my eyes. But that's what I've been playing. I've been really trying to play a greater variety of things when I don't have time to play console games. um, but uh, but yeah, the mobile phone makes it pretty easy to do that. But that's really all I have for game wise. Things that I've done this week. Yeah, I really want to go see Doctor Strange, but I haven't had the chance to go to the movies lately. So it's like Doctor Strange, and then the Star Wars, golly, that the Star Wars movie that's coming out now. I forget the name of it, and I feel bad because it's looks so awesome, and I really want to go see it. And then my wife really wants to go see Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. She's a big Harry Potter fan, and I wouldn't mind going see that one. Yeah, Rogue One. Yes, thank you. I'm like Star Wars Rebels. I'm like, wait, no, that's the TV show. That's the cartoon. But yes, Rogue One. Yeah, Rogue One. Yes, it looks awesome. But yeah, so this the next 2 months are just full of movies that I want to go see, and I also want The Arrivals looks really good too, and I've heard a lot of good things about that, and I want to go see them. But yeah, all right, but let's get to the meat of the discussion today. And I really don't have another topic to talk about other than this. So if you have any questions for me at the end of the show, we can we can get into that. Actually, probably we'll talk about what happened with my congressional run. But we'll talk. I'll talk about that at the end of the show, so that I'm not boring you up front. But so today I want to talk about the NES Classic. It released this past weekend, or earlier this week. I forget when the actual release date was, but I know it's been released, and it's suffering the same fate as the Wii, where there hasn't been enough supply, and it's sold out everywhere. I haven't personally gone to look for it. I've been to Walmart a couple of times, but uh, because I was buying other things, but I haven't seen one. Um, I haven't seen one in store, and but I haven't bothered to ask if they've had them or if they have any available, because I don't have the money to buy one right now. I would love to get this as a Christmas present for my kids, just because it is that cool, and I don't have very many, if any, of the games. I have a handful of the games, I think, but not nearly all of them. So I think I'm going to be getting at least 20, maybe 25 brand new games out of it, and my kids would love to try it. Unfortunately, I've heard some annoying things about it, and it's been confirmed that the cords for the controllers are 2.5, 3 feet long, which is terrible. And I will have to see if extension cables are available for that, because there because it's either get an extension cable for the controllers, or buy a 12-foot HDMI cable so that you can plug it in and have the box sitting right next to you, which is apparently what they want, because in order to switch games, you have to hit the reset button to go back to the home menu. That's the same, hitting reset gets you back to the home menu so you can change games, or so you could load save states. There is no shortcut on the controller in order to do that, which really sucks. But I guess it kind of fits into the aesthetics, because they don't want to add a home button to the NES the classic NES controller, because that's not true to form, which I can understand aesthetics wise, but seriously, put a home button on that controller so I can just go straight, so I don't have to get up and hit reset on the system itself. But yeah, but supply wise, Nintendo, for the weirdest reason, decided not to open this system up for pre-orders, and honestly, that was a dumb move on their part, because tons of people wanted this thing, and it was basically a race to the store in order to get it. And unfortunately, people who tried to get it and actually get it for themselves for their own enjoyment are not able to find these things on the shelves, because scalpers, just like the Wii, people are going to the store and grabbing all of them that they see and buying them. And honestly, I don't know why the stores let them buy more than one, or more than two at the most. It's like, I'm buying one for my friend, or I'm buying one for myself and one as a gift. Nobody in the it's pretty obvious if somebody's buying a dozen of them that they're going to be scalping them. Because there's no other reason to buy that, unless you're a really really nice boss and buying them for everybody in your employ. But how many people are like that? So scalpers are a big problem, and I follow a retro gaming group on Facebook, and they've been talking about scalpers the past 2-3 days, and they have some great stories. This one guy, he and a lot of these are through the Facebook Marketplace app, which for some reason I can never get to actually work. So I don't know how Facebook Market works, but they have some fun. Fun exchanges with scalpers on Facebook. This one guy, he says that he found an ad on Facebook where the person was selling the system and asking $250. And so he replies, it says, "Would you take $66?" And for those of you who haven't done the math, $66 is the price of the system plus tax. And the person selling it responds, "No." And so this retro gamer, he says, "Well, would you take 67? But that's my final offer, and that's a profit." And so, and then the person proceeded to block him. And then there's lots of stories like that, which are great. I love them. And unfortunately, all over Facebook, we've got these systems where, so let's see, these are various prices on the Facebook app. $328.85, $13,000, $3,499, or best offer, $379.99, $420, or best offer, $1,500, $999.89, and $399.99. And these aren't even all of them. This is crazy. But See, here's somebody asking, would you accept $60? No, sorry. Enjoy the dust it's going to collect. Get off my page. Would you accept $60? No, thanks. I paid more than that for it, hun. Yeah, okay. Uh, and then, and then the Amazon page is a wonderful, wonderful place. Uh, to go to look at this. If you go to the Amazon page, you will notice that the system has a one. Let's see, 1 point. Oh goodness, where is the 1.5 out of 5 stars? And you might think, okay, why does this have such a low rating? Because usually Nintendo hardware is pretty solid. Well, here's one: BS of a launch. Was complete BS. Amazon crashed and screwed me out of my system. If I hadn't just renewed my Prime subscription, I would have been done with Amazon. 1 out of 5 stars. Good luck, everyone. I had the same problem as a lot of other people did. I got on Amazon at 4:45 Eastern time. I kept refreshing over and over, and it kept saying error. 1 out of 5. Let's see. On site as soon as available would let me. On site as soon as available would let me add to cart, even though it was available. Refreshed and refreshed until I opened another tab per Twitter. Was sold out. So basically, a lot of people are complaining that this system is sold out, and they're giving the product a 1-star review because they can't buy the system. And honestly, that is a crummy thing to do. So let's see here. 13U Cube says he went to 5 stores, and finally Walmart rep told me that each store got a max of 10, but people came in at midnight and it sold out. Yeah, and that's pretty common, I think, everywhere. And yeah, Nintendo did not manufacture enough. To their credit, they've said that they're going to work hard at getting ramping up production for the holidays so that there's a steady supply going in. But I think, you know, there's the part of me that says that they just underestimated demand, but there's the other part of me that says that they just didn't care, or that they were expecting a high demand and purposely shorted the stock so that all of this stuff would happen and people would be hunting and talking about the system and trying, and news stories would be released about how the system is the hot item for the holiday season. And and honestly, that's probably where it's going. Or that's probably what I think is actually happening, because knowing Nintendo, I don't think that they made a mistake about the demand for this thing, because there was no mistaking it. People wanted this system. But on the topic of scalpers, I think a lot of these people are crummy people. I myself, I'm a reseller. I buy game systems and video games at yard sales and thrift stores and anywhere else I can find them for a really, really cheap deal. And then I resell them. I clean them up, test them, and resell them on Amazon. And I've never done eBay. I never was a fan of eBay and but Amazon is really easy, and I've made some good money off of there. But I'm a reseller, and I like to resell stuff. But the thing is I don't like to scalp. Um, uh, and and I don't know what it is, because honestly, if somebody's going to pay me $500 for a $60 system, that would be awesome. I would be all over that. But to me, it feels kind of crummy to artificially deflate the supply of a product so that I can artificially jump up the price of the product. And yeah, and and that just feels crummy to me. Um, and like Matthew says, it's part of the free market, which is true. Just and and it's perfectly acceptable. If somebody is willing to pay $1,000 for a $60 system instead of just waiting a couple of weeks or a month when it's back in stock, more power to them. But I would feel crummy about doing it, about selling something like that. Um, Even though I do like to make money. Uh, um, but, uh, but yeah, it's just I don't know. I'm just a nice guy. I sell things for a fair market price on Amazon. If Usually I'll undercut. Uh, Yes, I will sell it below what other people are offering because I like to sell things quickly. I don't really like to have inventory sitting around because inventory that's sitting around is not making me money. So I try to price things so that they will sell within a couple of weeks. Uh, and I always love it when I sell something and it sells within the day. And I've had that happen where I find something, find a great deal on a product or on a game or something, and I'll list it on Amazon and it's gone. It didn't even, and I'm like, man, I probably should have priced that a little bit higher. But no, I love it. But I, for something like this, the fair market value, honestly, is $60. Um, and it just to me, it just feels weird. It uh, feels crazy to try to sell something like that for more than $100. I don't know. I even $100 is kind of stretching it for me. Um, let's see. 13U Cube says that he thinks it's time for change in leadership at Nintendo of America. And honestly, yeah, I agree. I think Nintendo of America has made some really really terrible uh, business decisions over the last few years. Operation Rainfall comes to mind. The faceplates for the 3DS or the new 3DS. Let's see, a bunch of other things, the censorship issues, uh, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, Nintendo of America is just, they're really tone deaf to the market in the US, and they don't they don't make very good decisions that make people happy, and I think something needs to shake up. Uh, Reggie, he's a fine guy. I'm sure he's a very smart and intelligent business person, but he still makes dumb decisions, and maybe he needs to get some new advisors or just be replaced. But something has to change. Warren Lewis says that he stood in line for or stood in line of 20 at GameStop that only had 8 on hand, and most of those people came from Target, who had only that which only had 2. Wow, that's crazy. And thank you, Warren, for keeping it, buying it for yourself. That's a good move right there. I think. I think if you're waiting in line to buy it and play it yourself, that's great. Um, but yeah, 2 and 8 and 10, those are terrible numbers to have in a store. For something like this going into the holiday season, opening night should have no less than 50 per store. and and uh, and and I think that might even be undershooting it. But yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, 13U Cube mentions Majora's Mask's new 3DS XL and Amiibo shipments as other bad decisions on Nintendo of America's part. Um, and Let's see here. What else do we see? Oh, and also people did a teardown, and the hardware is more powerful than the Wii, which probably isn't surprising. A lot of Android hardware is more powerful than the Wii at this point. So something like this, even if it's built on something similar to the Raspberry Pi or Arduino, they can still get pretty powerful. And if you're running a custom Android ROM with an emulator built in, then yeah, it's you don't need anything too powerful, and the Wii is probably overpowered for what this thing is. Um, let's see here. Yeah, Warren, I would love mine too if I had one, but they're not they're not available, and not that I've seen anywhere. Somebody else posted a picture of all the Atari flashbacks and the Sega Classic systems, and how these things are just filling the shelves. Yeah, the Genesis Classic game console. We've got the portable Genesis one, the Atari Flashback 6 and 7, the ColecoVision, and some TV game console, which looks like a Chinese knockoff Wii. So, um, but yeah, these things are available if you want them. And honestly, I would buy all four of the. I would buy the Genesis, the Atari Flashback, and the ColecoVision. I would probably get both the Genesis console one and the handheld, because I love handhelds, and these games would be perfect to take on the go. But that Chinese knockoff thing, yeah, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. I'm sorry. um, let's see here. Yeah, Nintendo has seemed to have bad supply management. They always undershoot. Yeah, Matthew, that's true, and I think that's mostly Nintendo of America, that has this problem. I haven't checked to see the news from Japan or Europe on this thing, but yeah, their U.S. is terrible. Nobody's finding them. Let's see here, and yeah. So Matthew says, "Call me when they come out with a SNES Classic," and I'm on the I'm of the opinion that that's going to come next year. I don't, with the success of this thing, I don't think Nintendo would leave that money on the table. I think they would come out with an SNES Classic next year, but to be honest, I think that's probably the last one they're going to do. I don't think they would ever do a Nintendo 64 one, uh, just because the N64 wasn't as successful, isn't fueled by as much nostalgia as the NES and the Super NES is. Um, and Andrew and we talked about a potential SNES Classic in a previous podcast, and published some articles with our lists and reader lists of games that might be on there. And we're pretty sure a lot of what we listed would show up on this thing, on an NES or a Super Nintendo Classic. Let's see. GameStop better have more than 8 of them. Yeah. Um, yeah, talking about the SNES Classic. Hopefully they learn from this year to not under release the system, understock it, and if the SNES Classic comes out, they actually release it at a fair market, uh, or in anticipation of the market reaction, because they just were not thinking. Um, yeah, Virtual Console isn't even a physical release, and Nintendo of America has the least and the worst list of all the regions. Speaking of comparing the Virtual Console on the Wii U and 3DS to Europe and Asia markets, yes, we do tend to lose out on a lot of games that those regions have, but we still get some. But I think they drip feed us when really they should just be releasing everything they've got. Yeah, we're behind by almost 100 titles. I would believe that. I haven't looked that up, but I would definitely believe that. Um, yeah, Chrono Trigger would make it worth it. Yeah, definitely. Chrono Trigger is a great game. Honestly, any of the Square Enix release titles would be great, and I would totally buy that. I've got the Final Fantasy Anthology and Chronicles for the PlayStation One, and I play those all the time. That's got Final Fantasy 4, 5, and 6, and then Chrono Trigger, and I play those all the time. Unfortunately, when playing them on the PlayStation 2, Final Fantasy 5 has a save bug where it just and 4 and 5 have save bugs that just delete the saves just randomly, and it drives me nuts. I don't think it happens on the PlayStation 1 as often, but I've never played it on the PlayStation 1, and I've never played it on the PlayStation 3, so I don't know how the those save bugs happen on there. I think those save bugs are related to the PlayStation 2. And which always drove me nuts because I would be playing the game, and then stop and then come back later and find out my save files were corrupted, and terrible, terrible thing. Virtual Console America's title numbers is almost 200 titles, 220 titles different from the Japanese list, and I totally believe that too. And I don't know if a lot of that's just localization issue, but I'm sure most of those games already are localized. But Nintendo of America just for some reason doesn't want to give us those games. Um, but yeah, I'm totally looking forward to it. I'm or for the NES Classic, and I think there's going to be plenty of stock in December, uh, so that people can actually buy this thing for the holidays. And I plan on getting one of those for Christmas for my kids. Like, there's games on there that I want them to play that I don't have, and and honestly, I don't have a fully working original Nintendo system. And so I would love to be able to just hook up an original Nintendo and let them play the games on the cartridges, but I don't have all the cartridges, and and so this system is the next best thing, and I'm looking forward to it. But I think that's probably enough talk about that. Just keep an eye out for the stock. If you don't have one, don't pay $500 for it. Don't even pay $100 for it. Just wait. You can get it eventually. So don't go for the scalpers. These guys don't deserve your money, as far as I'm concerned. So moving on. I didn't have any other video game related topics this week because nothing really caught my eye. So this week since it's election season, I wanted to talk a little bit about that. For those of you who don't know, I ran for Congress. Oklahoma Congressional District 5 ran against the incumbent Republican, Steve Russell, who is really annoying. I don't like him at all. He over the last 2 years, he just finished off his first term as congressman, and during those 2 years, he published his Waste Watch reports or Waste Book reports. I forget what he called them. Basically, he continued what Oklahoma Senator Tom Coburn, or former Senator Tom Coburn, was doing in highlighting areas of government spending that he considered a waste and that we should be eliminating. And so Steve Russell was doing this, and then when it finally came time to put his money where his mouth is, or his vote where his mouth is, he voted in favor of the budget agreement that didn't cut anything. It actually increased government spending. And his reason for this, because it included all the pork he loved. And it's like I'm not going to vote against this because all the stuff that I want to spend money on is in it. And it's like, seriously? That's all it takes for you to sell out your vote. And so that was one of the reasons why I ran against him. And so this year I ran against him. The Libertarian Party gained recognition in the state of Oklahoma for the first time in 16 years since the year 2000. And I'm a very active member of the Libertarian Party here. I've been working on easing ballot access laws to make it easier to form a new party in this state. And we actually had very successful lobbying efforts and got some bills passed that made it so that we could form a new party. And as part of that, I felt the need that I needed to run, and the only race I qualified for was the congressional run, and I got enough support to pay the filing fee, and that's all the money I spent. And that's about all the money I raised too. But yeah, so I ran against him. I didn't do much campaigning outside of Facebook. I wanted to go to some events and stuff, but really nobody invited me to anything, and I didn't have the time to organize one of my own, unfortunately, or I would have, but I had several things come up, and my time was just completely taken away from me to do anything outside of the house. And so I ran a fairly quiet campaign where I ran Facebook and Twitter and advocated that are there, and had a lot of people reach out to me, contact me. Had people who when it came time to download their sample ballots, they saw my name, were like, "Ooh, I know this guy," and then other people who got to the voting booth and got their ballot and saw my name, they're like, "Ooh, I know this guy," and so it was great. I was incredibly happy with the results. Let me pull that up here. Because I forget exactly how many votes I got. Let's see here. Oh, I got a total of 17,113 votes, which came out to 6.1% of the total vote in my congressional district. There was a total of 280,570 people who voted in this district. And I think these are the official results. Let me see here. No, these are still the unofficial results. I think they will be official as of Monday or Tuesday next week. But yeah, 6.1%. That was one of the better showings in Oklahoma for a libertarian. And yeah, there were several other that were a lot better, where and most of those were in 2-person races. But mine was a 3-person race. So for 3-person races, that was actually one of the best showings for libertarians, and I was very excited. For those interested in Oklahoma, Gary Johnson got 5.75% of the vote, and that keeps the Libertarian Party on the ballot in Oklahoma. A party's presidential nominee needs to get 2.5% of the vote for that party to stay recognized, and we met that requirement. The requirement used to be 10%, so we wouldn't have made that, but we made the new 2.5%. So yeah, so great showing all around. The libertarians all over the U.S. are really happy with the results for Gary Johnson. He got us over 3% of the vote, which is 3 times as much as any libertarian has ever done in the U.S. and so great stuff. And unfortunately, Steve Russell won, but the great thing is he won with the lowest margin of victory of any other Republican in this state, which is kind of hilarious. So I don't know if that's a testament to how terrible of a candidate he is, or just the fact that his district covers it. Almost everybody lives in a single county in his district, and that county is growing as a Democratic county. There's more Democratic voters in that county than there are anywhere else. This is Oklahoma County, which is where Oklahoma City is, in the capital. It's a growing Democratic voter base, and so I think that's probably the reason why he had such a low voter margin of victory. He won by 57 with 57.09% of the vote. The next lowest Republican who won with 69.63%. So let's see here. Comments. Do I know where Aleppo is? Yes, I know where Aleppo is, but I didn't know until Gary Johnson asked the question. And honestly, I thought the question was really stupid anyways, because why ask about one specific city in an entire war-torn country? It's like, yeah, it's like asking during the Civil War, what are you going to do about Gettysburg? There's hundreds other places that are just as terrible condition as that one city. So why care? Or why specify that one place instead of just saying, what are you going to do about Syria, which is the more appropriate question in that context. Let's see here. Okay. And do you avoid television news? If not, do you prefer local news, CNN, or some other channel? I don't watch the news. Any news that I get from NPR on my commute to and from work. We don't have cable, or satellite, so I don't get any of that. And honestly, I just don't care about the news all that much. NPR provides me with as much news as I think I need directly, and then I get everything else off of Facebook and Twitter. So if somebody links something that looks interesting, I'll read it and everything, but I don't go anywhere. But I do read the websites for the two largest newspapers in Oklahoma. And so I do get a lot of local news and some national news through that. But I only read certain sections, the crime and government sections mostly. Not much else is interesting or of of interest for my purposes. It's a testament to the power of YouTube. I'm not sure what that's a reference to. That was posted a few minutes back. I know of a YouTube when he gets his U.S. citizenship in a year or so, he's thinking of running for local office. A YouTuber. Well, that's cool. Anybody that is interested in the direction of their city, their county, their state, or the federal government should run for office. There's no real qualification for running for office. Some things make it where people trust you more for running for office, or something like if you're involved in law, so like an attorney of some sort, or you are a business owner, or if you've started from the bottom and worked your way up. So you started off as like on the school board, and then moved on to city council, and then county commissioner or state representative or something like that, and moved up. If you start out small and work your way up, yeah, you gain a lot of love and support base for these bigger runs. Myself, my qualification is that I'm old enough and I live in the district. That's my personal thing is those are the the only two real requirements for running for office is that you meet the age requirement and residency requirement, and everything else is just superfluous, and you can and 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 you can learn as you go. Having a very opinionated having a very knowledgeable mind and posting knowledgeable comments and opinion about news and news events and legislation and current laws and regulations helps as well. Um, but if you're starting fresh, yeah, you got to do a lot of voter outreach. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do as much as I wanted, and I think part of that is that, like I said, I was never invited to any events, and I think that was primarily because nobody hosted any events for congressional races in my district, and I think, I think that's a pretty common thing, especially when the incumbent doesn't feel the need to do any campaigning of his own. I know Steve Russell sent out mailers, and I think he did some phone campaigns, robocalls, but I don't think he ever did any in-person events, at least nothing that I ever read about. And so if Steve Russell, if the incumbent's not going to show up in an event, I don't think anybody really wants to do an event because they want the incumbent there as well, and so that kind of sucks that nothing like that happened. And unfortunately, I know a lot of local candidates for the Libertarian Party who were purposely excluded from some events where the Democratic and Republican competition were invited to these events, and the Libertarians never received an actual invite, and they found out after the fact or right before the event started because someone said, hey, there's this event going on, your opponents are there, but you're not, what's going on? And they're like, what? And so, and actually had one of my friends who are running for office found out about an event after the fact, and she asked the she asked the people who hosted the event why she wasn't invited, and their excuse was that she never came to their offices for an in-person interview, and so they didn't think she was a serious candidate, even though she's been in the news, she's held town halls and press conferences of her own, and all this stuff. It's just because she never went to their offices and talked to them personally, so she didn't get invited. And dumbest excuse ever. But yeah, but enough about that. We all know that Donald Trump won. He won via electoral votes, and with all of the additional absentee ballots coming in, it looks like he's actually going to win the popular vote as well. He didn't win on Tuesday night. It didn't look like he was actually going to win the popular vote, but it looks likely that he's actually going to get the popular vote too. But that's what I've heard. I haven't verified it with any sites like Politico or anything like that. I probably should do that eventually. But with all this, with Donald Trump winning, people are wondering what's going to happen technology-wise, copyright-wise, and I'm looking for the TechDirt article because TechDirt actually had a really good article about what a Trump win means. They have one on here that Trump's very first tweet as president-elect basically craps on the First Amendment. And Trump said, just have had a very open and successful presidential election. This is after several weeks of griping about how the system is rigged against him. It says, now professional protesters incited by the media are protesting. Very unfair. So he's attacking both the press and the right to freedom of association and protest. But other problems or other things that are coming out, and some of these are good, some of these are bad. For the good side of things, it looks like Donald Trump is going to put an end to the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which is a very controversial trade agreement with Pacific nations. And there's a lot of good free market stuff in there, but a lot of bad stuff because it exports some of the worst intellectual property laws in the U.S. to other countries. And and Matthew says, no, Clinton won the popular vote. Yeah, she won the popular vote on Tuesday, but not that's not all the votes. There's a lot of absentee votes that still needed to be counted, and so the popular vote isn't going to be verified for at least a week, maybe 2 weeks after the election. And last I heard, Trump was actually pulling ahead in the popular vote. Let me just double check that here. Oh, let's see here. Well, Google's still showing Donald Trump is still losing the popular vote. So maybe I just read wrong or heard wrong or something. I don't know. But so I could be wrong on that. I'm willing to admit that. But back on what this means for copyright and technology. Trump is he's very, very open to stricter libel laws, or making it easier to sue for defamation, not stricter libel laws, not making it harder to file a libel lawsuit. But he's because he has such a thin skin, he's more willing to sue someone over something they said about him. And so he would be very open to making it easier to do that. And which is really sad because anti-slap laws are a great thing, and we need a federal anti-slap law very badly, and Trump's probably not willing to do something like that. Trump is going to expand mass surveillance. He's been very eager to do that, and I don't see him pulling back or reining in the Patriot Act or the NDAA anytime soon. Techdirt is not sure about things like encryption or copyright or patents because Trump has never really said anything about any of those. So nothing along those. But net neutrality, Trump supports a plan to basically gut net neutrality, just override the FCC's decision to implement net neutrality in the U.S. So net neutrality's gone this year. It's probably going to be gone within the first year of his presidency because he has a willing Republican majority in both houses of Congress. And then things like eminent domain and other things like that, he's probably going to be pretty bad on as well. But yeah, Trump's or Techdirt's not too Techdirt's not too thrilled about the prospects of this, even though Techdirt themselves, they weren't too thrilled about Clinton's positions on a lot of these things. Am I reading policies from his website? No, I'm actually reading through a list on Techdirt about. They published this on Wednesday. As a reflection of what they see a Trump presidency being like on issues that they care about. I've looked at a few things on Trump's mission plan, and there's some good stuff in there. Let's see, what is his website? Trump. I'll just do a quick search for him. DonaldTrump.com. And he's got his 1 year plan, and I'm trying to remember some specific things that he's mentioned. But let's see. see, let's look at press releases. Oh, Trump's Trump 1-year plan. Goodness, you'd think it would be easier to find this thing. 100 days in office. That's what it is. His first 100 days in office. Let's hope this link actually has the list. First thing, propose a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on all members of Congress. I support that. That's actually on my list, on my policies. So, second, a hiring freeze on all federal employees to reduce federal workforce through attrition. And, I support reducing the amount of government in there too. Third, a requirement that for every new federal regulation, 2 existing regulations must be eliminated. I support that kind of stuff. A 5-year ban on White House and congressional officials becoming lobbyists, which is actually would be a good thing. I think right now the ban is 1, maybe 2 years, but a lot of congressmen seem to find a way around that and get hired on immediately at lobbying firms. I think it's because they get hired on a position that's not directly lobbying and it's some kind of loophole or whatever. Sixth, a complete ban on foreign lobbyists raising money for American elections. That I don't know how that would go over. Nobody likes foreign money in American politics, but it happens. Let's see. He's going to renegotiate NAFTA or withdraw from the deal. NAFTA has actually been a good thing as far as I'm concerned. So I don't know if that if we would benefit by getting out of NAFTA. He's going to withdraw from the Trans-Pacific Partnership, as I said. He's going to label China as a currency manipulator, which that's not something I'm too thrilled about. Let's see other things here. Goodness, there's lots of things in here. I don't know if I want to read everything in here, but but yeah, lots of stuff in there. If it just do a Google search for Trump's 100-day plan for all this stuff. But yeah, I don't think a lot's going to change too much on the technology copyright front than what it is. But I don't think any positive legislation is going to make it through, which is unfortunate. And so don't expect a change to the DMCA anytime soon. Don't expect a reduction in copyright lengths, term lengths. Don't expect anything like that. Unfortunately, the climate might be right, and for an extension of copyright terms, meaning with Mickey Mouse coming into the public domain in 5 years, or in 2023, so that's actually 7 years. We might see a copyright term extension, which would be very bad, and I think that would be no good and shouldn't happen, but might actually happen, which is really sad. But yeah, I think it's 10:05. I think I'm going to close up the podcast now. A good discussion. The NES Classic discussion was very lively. Thank you guys. So we'll close this out. This has been Molehill Mountain, episode 25. Unfortunately, Andrew was not able to make it because he had to work, and I guess he was too busy to pop into chat. And so you can check out all of the Molehill Mountain podcasts at randomtower.com. And also we have links to the YouTube, or the iTunes and the iTunes list and other places to check out the podcast. And you can follow me as easy on Twitter at Easy Night. You can follow my game development work at DK_gaming. I am currently making a game called Abstract RPG and hoping to have a fully playable version of the game by the end of the month. And I am posting one screenshot a day of this game or one image related to the game every day. And you can follow the Oklahoma game development scene at OK Game Devs on Twitter and okgamedev.com. And did I tell you my Twitter for um, my game development work? Twitter is DK_gaming and divineknightgaming.com. And so that's been the podcast. Thank you guys so much. And 13U Cube, yes, I will check out your video on eBay scalpers. Definitely, I'm very interested in following all that stuff. So check that out. And I will see you guys next week. I will see you all next week. Thank you and goodbye.